Welcome to the Hooksett Library's 2022 Candidates Forum, a series that helps connect voters with those running for elected offices in Hooksett. I'm Brittany Overton, the Adult Services Librarian at Hooksett Library. In this video, we talk with Clark Karolian, who is running for Town Council District 5. Clark, thank you for taking the time to share with us your interest in the Hooksett Town Council.
Great, thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Let's start by having you tell us a little about yourself and the experiences you've had that you feel would support you in the role of counselor.
Certainly. I've been a resident of Hooksett for almost 30 years now. My children went through the Hooksett school system, Hooksett sports, etc. I've been involved in the past. I was police commissioner when we had a police commission. I got appointed to fill a seat that was vacant as District 5 counselor. And then I ran for, actually it was a 2-year term. I won that seat and now I'm looking for re-election.
Great. And if you are elected, what initiatives or projects would you be most interested in tackling in the first year?
In the first year, we currently have a TIF district. I won't call it an issue, but it's on the plate. It's currently in motion. We're having a lot of meetings about that, which is a tax increment finance district to build up commercial properties, industrial properties, et cetera, on the west side. And now they've expanded to the east side. So that's currently on the front burner for the town council that we're discussing. There's other issues. I've been involved with the recycling and transfer committee as a town councilor. And there's issues that we have with staffing for the highway department, et cetera. You'll notice, I'm sure there's a lot of folks noticed that we had some issues regards to snow plowing that was due to not having enough manpower or employees, I should say, to fill that. So those are some of the things that are on the front burner. We have a water issue. It's kind of hard to pull out just one or two in a short period of time to say that these are on the priority as opposed to all the others. But in importance-wise, we have a water quality issue that I've been addressing in my district and townwide. In fact, we have some serious issues with the quality of water for well water, excuse me, for well water residents. And it's virtually all over, but in my district, we're looking at Farmer Road, we're looking at Auburn Road, et cetera. So there's some serious issues there that need to be addressed. Of course, the tax base, we need to look at that. What do we have for revenues versus what's going out? And I've done my best at making sure that we're the issues that are out there aren't rubber stamped, so to speak. I try to have transparency. I ask a lot of questions. And the reason I do that is a lot of questions in the past haven't been asked. It's been almost a rubber stamp type issue where some issues come forward and they just get passed through, as opposed to looking into each topic. We receive a packet a week in advance from the town administrator about, and the chair, about topics that we're going to discuss or at the next council meeting. And I take the time to look at those as opposed to what has been done in the past by some, not all, but some, is not opening it until you get to the meeting and just following along. And I think that's why there's a lot of unasked questions about specific topics that come before us. So I'd like to continue this endeavor. I think I've been very upfront. If I do make mistakes, I stand corrected, and I don't have any issues with standing up and being counted. And I certainly don't know it all. I don't profess to know it all, but I'm doing what I think is correct. I ask constituents all the time to contact me about issues, whether it's in our District 5 or townwide. So I think the more participation we get from constituents, the better it is for us to voice their opinions and go in the direction that the constituents want.
Great, thank you. How important is economic growth to Hooksett's future?
I think it's important, but we can't lose sight of some that want to make this town grow too quickly without looking at all the issues and the cost factors about growing quickly. I mean, obviously, every town looks at economics. We look at the tax base, what's being spent, how is it being spent. So it's an important issue, no doubt. But how fast does the town people want the town of Hooksett to grow, and in what direction do they want it to go in? And is it going to affect? Everybody worries about how it's going to affect their annual tax bill. So there are issues that I brought up in the past, especially with the COVID issue, about employment, unemployment, people are struggling, et cetera. So we have to look at that as a whole. And at what point do we get, at what point do we want to say, let's stop rushing into this. Let's proceed in a manner that's good for Hooksett, because it's good for another town. We don't, or if somebody wants to come into this town and put together these packages of financing, public and private financing partnership, we have to scrutinize that and look at it. And because specialists so far as planners or town councils and counselors look at this, doesn't always mean it's going to be in the town's best interest. Now, I am for growing the tax base. I am for the town utilizing unused land for commercial or / industrial in the proper area with the proper financing, et cetera. But what's most important to me is the transparency. And I firmly believe in having issues and especially dollar issues go in front of the town and have warrant articles where the town can decide, the citizenry can decide, yes, we want to go in this direction, or no, we don't.
Great. And in your opinion, how should the council balance economic development, demand for housing, and maintaining a small town quality of life for residents?
That's an important question, a good question. I'm glad you asked it. We do have issues with housing. Not everybody can afford large houses with a large footprint, square footprint, 2,000 square feet, et cetera, and plus. There is a need. I'm hesitant to call it what people call workforce housing. To me, that isn't the right label. It's affordable housing. We all come from different economic backgrounds, and I think that needs to be looked at. Where it's placed, that's another question. How it's done, again, another question. But if we do it properly, I think we can still maintain the quote small town feel by how the town sets up buildings, apartments, single, not cluster housing, but smaller footprints, et cetera. But we also have to look at the commercial aspect of the small town feel, if you will. And what I'm talking about is the town of Hooksett. We have so many new buildings that have gone up that are metal roofs, metal siding, and it looks almost warehouse type business condos. So I think there's been some banking institutions that have come up, and they've come up with, and this falls under the planning board purview, and that's their wheelhouse. But we don't want, the people that I've talked to, we don't want these continually having metal buildings, metal roofs, et cetera, because it doesn't give that small town feel. But when you have a design of a building that has perhaps stonework, or even fake stonework on the front, a little bit different design, it becomes more aesthetically pleasing, and therefore it kind of folds into the smaller town look. Again, we've had some new credit unions have gone up with, there's one with a contemporary design, there's some others that are more conventional, but yet we don't have that metal roof, metal sides. There's a lot of these places have gone up, and I think it draws away from the charm of a smaller town look. So I think there's issues that can be handled, that we want growth, but how much growth do we really want? And that's entirely up to the voters and the citizens of Hooksett. So I've always welcomed input, good or bad, whether I agree or not. And it's something that needs to be looked at. So how big do we want to grow? Do we want to become, the next South Willow Street? I don't think so, but that's entirely up to the citizenry. They have the vote. I'm there to represent my district, but also to represent the town of Hooksett, not just District 5. I've tackled issues that are outside my district that, frankly, other councilors in the past didn't tackle it in their district, but I feel compelled when I see these things come up. So in short, and I know I went on about it because I have so much I would love to say and engage conversations with. We have to look at how fast and how big do we want us to grow, but yet where's that line of maintaining the small town charm? What's happening in the village, I think, is great with the bridge and what's happening on the waterfront. So that contributes to the small town feel, but yet can raise the tax base and make it affordable for everybody.
Thank you. And the last question, with continued growth in population, how do you see Hooksett changing over the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, again, that's entirely the way I see it. I mean, how much is too much? Do we want to take up all the available land and develop it, whether it's for commercial properties or whether it's for housing? Those things, it's not an easy question to answer because there are a lot of different dynamics that come into play. But when we look at the town of Hooksett, we want that smaller town feel. We have the continuity of different departments and different social economic residents. So we have to balance that with what's good for the town. And anybody that's has watched our town council meetings knows that I am a proponent of transparency, and I'm not afraid to ask the tough questions. And we have people that we hire that need to answer questions. So it's not just the run of the mill. So in 10 or 15 years, I hope to see that Hooksett is a nice community to want to come and live in, has the infrastructure, has the businesses that cater to the residents of Hooksett. And I see it growing, but not exploding, I guess is one way to look at it or phrase it.
Thank you, Clark. It's been great to hear your thoughts on the town council.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.